What's up YouTube, Card Boss here, back in our video where we talk cards, money, investing. Today is February 21st and it's been like maybe 10 days since my last video, so apologies for that. It's the Chinese New Year, so it's a big deal for us. So it's celebration week, spend time with the family, friends, lots of get together, and the work didn't really let up. There was still a bunch of work to do, just that I didn't have time to kind of like sit down and put up some content, so apologies for that. But I'm right here, and I thought today is going to be a day that maybe I'll kind of like bring you guys up to speed on like what the topic is. 50 days in from the day I actually started as a full-time sports card reseller, what's been going on in the last 50 days, and some of the new interesting stuff that I came across in the last couple of days, as well as what's my outlook going forward. Check it out. Okay, welcome back guys. So one of my earlier videos, I talk about monitoring performance through margins, and I did break it down through the different revenue streams that I had through eBay, DC Sports, and PPCC mainly, right? And I talked about certain margin percentages and how, in order for my business to be successful, on how the margins and contributions needs to be from these three main sources. So 50 days in, I'm going to talk about how the margins have actually shifted from the last checkup that we did, perhaps about what 2 to 3 weeks into the business. So this is kind of like additional 3 weeks after that. So looking at my sheet right now, basically eBay sales, the sales has been kind of consistent from January to February, right? So even though we're just about 20 days in, there's still about 10 days more to go for the month, or maybe less than that, 7 days to go in the month of February. But sales has been pretty much consistent, right, across the board through the platform. So what has changed is the margins, right? So in January, we did about 32% margin for eBay, which is pretty strong, okay, considering I have to take away fees and all those kind of things. But the margins have dipped slightly for eBay. It's down to 27% now. Still a very, very healthy margin, right? From 32 to 27, considering that you got to pay all like 15% of fees. So pretty happy with that. And PWCC, which is her second highest contributor in terms of revenue, okay, the margins were previously at -10. Now I spoke on why having PWCC at negative margin was kind of okay, even though my target was to try to get to a break-even point in terms of margin for PWCC. So do check out my last video talking about that. But right now, this month, as I said, this month, on February 21st, the PWCC margins is doing at negative 3.7%, which means it's about 6% improvement from the previous check. So it means that I'm starting to sell things at a higher margin, or in fact making some profit on some of the slabs that I had to move in this particular month. Now, it's pretty surprising as well, because I had a number of low-end slabs, or slabs that came back from PSA, which has lower grade, and I did expect a lot of them to not do so well. Now, some of them really didn't do so well, those PSA 6 and 7s, but surprisingly, some of my PSA 8 stuff did pretty alright. Okay, so even though it's a net loss margin, but definitely there's some improvement. However, the one that really took the big hit is my revenue stream from DC Sports, whereby previously I was recording about like 6% negative margin, and this month it's doing a 19% loss. So I'm taking a big hit on some of my raw cards that's being resold back on DC Sports. Now, considering that DC Sports actually charges about 15% fees on the commissions, so this is net of commission. So even after I'm taking out the commissions from DC Sports, I'm still making additional about like 4% loss on average selling to DC Sports. Now, is this alarming? Not really, but definitely this is not something I would like to keep it under 15%. So far so good. I'm pretty happy in terms of the sales contributions and what my expectations to be. 40% eBay, 40% PWCC, and 20% coming from DC Sports or Instagram. So right now I'm tracking at 35% eBay, 45% from PWCC, and 20% from the other. So kind of like things are moving along the right path, in my opinion. Just gotta keep tracking things and keep on working harder on this. Okay, now, so the one outlier transaction which didn't get recorded in my business for now, is my investments in Formula One. Now, I spoke extensively about Formula One in my past videos on why I was very aggressive with it, why I kind of had second thoughts, and why I felt that it was the wrong decision to go into F1. Okay, so at the end of last year, I kind of like written off my entire investment. I sold a bunch of stuff. I had about like maybe about 25 slabs on Formula One across the multiple 2020 Topps Chrome series. I didn't buy any 2021. Okay, so everything was 2020. I sold a bunch of slabs, and I kept the few, which was the gold wave refractors. That's out of 50, all the PSA 8. So I had the big ones like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc. So I had these guys, and in terms of my books, they were completely written off, right? Written down. Zero took the big L in my books last year. Okay, so this year I had opportunity to move some of these F1 stuff, at a price which, compared to the purchase price that I paid way back in year 2021, I believe. Okay, and it's about a 66% haircut, okay, from the original price I paid. So you can tell it's a huge chunk. But in hindsight, you look at it, right? I'm pretty sure that a lot of people, are willing to just take anything they can get, from whatever, for these F1 cards. So to me, taking, a third of what are my original investments sounds kind of alright, okay. And the good thing about it was I still managed to maintain the Lewis Hamilton, right, gold wave refractor, which I massively overpaid way back then for this particular card. But there is rumors of him going to Ferrari, which may just change the landscape of F1, not just for Hamilton, but F1 as a whole. And you may actually see some movements or at least some activity in terms of pricing. But for me, I'm just going to be focused more on basketball and a couple of other things, and I don't have that kind of bandwidth to tackle into F1. So I didn't mind just recouping some of my original investment through moving the Max Verstappens and the Charles Leclerc, the George Russells, and still have a bit, I wouldn't call this upside, but have a bit of a chance to try to recoup the full investment amount that I paid, the massive investment amount that I paid for this Lewis Hamilton. Okay, moving on. So just last week, if you guys actually follow my Instagram, I purchased a Magic the Gathering card. So as some of you might know, I'm actually a former Magic the Gathering professional player. So I had a bunch of cards, including Power 9, which I actually sold all of them. But I bought something pretty unique last week on Goldeen's Pop Culture Elite Auction. Okay, which is this card here you can see on the screen. It's a Sarah Angel. Now it looks like a black border Sarah Angel, and it has sharp corners, right? So for those who are familiar with Magic the Gathering, or you maybe have some knowledge, right? So of course the earlier editions where this Sarah Angel has black border, you come from Alpha or Beta edition, right, which is the premier, and these fetch a lot of money in high grades. Okay, but as you can see in this picture here, it's actually written as a reprint. Okay, so now you start scratching your head. What's this reprint, and why did I pay $2,000 for this card? Now, this is a bit special. As you can see, the card is autographed, and this is signed by the artist Douglas Schuler. Okay, so he's the original artist for this particular Sarah Angel. Now, why is this card so special? It's because I'm going to flip the card to the back here, and it has a white back. Okay, and this card is called Artist Proof. So back in the days, right, so the original illustrator for this particular art were given 50 copies of this printout, right, of this art or this card that they actually illustrated on, for them to give to friends and family. Some use as business cards, and some actually just threw them away. So there was only 50 copies of this particular card actually in existence, and some of these artists actually signed their names on the card just to kind of like signify that they actually were the artists. And because they had sharp corners, and Magic the Gathering, as you know, have rounded corners, so these were not played at all. So these, if were still found, were kept in pretty good condition now. But of course, a lot of these cards were disposed. This is talking about way back in 1993. Okay, so when you look at the print runs for Alpha, now it's already very scarce, right? At 1100, this one is just 50. So for me to actually pick up an iconic art iconic card like a Sarah Angel. It's one of the most well-known cards in the Magic the Gathering lore. Like it's pretty popular and everybody knows who is it. Okay, and it's pretty rare, right? And it's not numbered out of 50, but we know that's just a print out of 50. So this is definitely something that's a pretty cool pickup for me. Maybe help for a short term to flip to the right collector who actually collects the series run of these artist prints, or perhaps it's a Sarah Angel collector. There are many out there. Okay, but this artist proof kind of like just went under the radar in my opinion, and I guess PSA didn't do the right thing by just labeling as a reprint, and maybe people in Goldin didn't really realize what they were holding and just had a listing called as reprint. So pretty happy with this pickup, even though it's pretty expensive, like $2,000, but Magic the Gathering's high-end stuff are really, really expensive. So I did have to mull whether or not would I want to pay like $2,000 for this particular, potential return, right? Or maybe just put out easily $2,000 into a Michael Jordan card. But given my knowledge on Magic the Gathering history, I sincerely believe that this one had a kind of like a very strong upside. Okay, lastly, so if you guys check out my website lately, www.cardboss2021.com, you look at my eBay listings, you see a number of huge Michael Jordan cards. Okay, big ones. You see linchpins, hot shots, many others as well. And these are all recent pickups in the last, maybe 1.5 months, 2 months. Okay, now I guess if you guys again were following me and my Michael Jordan journey, Michael Jordan hierarchy journey, I did buy a lot of Michael Jordans previously, but not many of them were from tier 2, so certainly not the big guns that I have currently. Okay, and I sold many of them along the way, and I started to pick up a lot of these bigger, more desirable inserts, but in various kind of grades, right? So I have the hot shots in BGS 9, I got the linchpins in SCG 9, I have the card above in BGS 8.5, so kind of like all over the place, right? But the reason why I'm picking up these Michael Jordan cards now, this is one thing that you may or may not be doing it, okay, but it's important that you do it, okay, especially as a card reseller. So it's what we call anchoring down, okay? So cards are as volatile as any other investments out there, stocks and shares, Bitcoin, okay? So they come to a point in time whereby there is possibility that your inventory or your investments may just dwindle down to nothing. So it's important to have actually some stuff that do carry some value in a time of crisis, inverted crisis, okay? So of course people always advocate for you to buy some of these high-end stuff like these Jordans and things like that, but you may feel that it's kind of weighing down on your overall capital, right? It is not cheap when you're spending $2,000 to $4,000 on a card, but you can easily buy, say, another 10 more slabs at like $300 each and easily try and flip them and make them 10%, as opposed to trying to sell this $3,000 Jordan card and try and make like $300, right? I can get that, but there is some importance on anchoring down your portfolio with some of this big stuff, because whatever happens, right, that you're able to recoup some of this money through these big cards. Now, when in times of emergency, you not necessarily have to sell your entire collection. You have seen some of the content out there whereby people encounter some sort of difficulty. Maybe they lost their job, maybe they had some health issues whereby they're forced to sell some of the cards, and because they didn't have any significant anchors in their collection or in their portfolio, right? They're all, a bunch of small stuff, a bunch of $100 slabs or $200 cards, So naturally, when you want to try and move this as a bulk, to try and raise cash quickly, you're going to get maybe 30%, 40%, 50% of the value if you're lucky. Okay, but by having these kind of anchor cards in your portfolio, you're able to, whereas and when you need cash in on some of these, maybe you may take a loss for all, maybe you make a profit on some of them. You don't have to sell them all at once, but these are the ones that will help you bridge on times of difficult, when there's difficult times ahead, if there are any. So it's always good to, when you go out and build your inventory portfolio, you should always keep an eye out on certain things to anchor down your portfolio or your collection, right? Things, it's definitely still for sale, right? You can put whatever high price tags you want. If somebody really pays you for it, that's a good thing, and you can just take the profits to return into another anchor plus reinvest into your business. So that's what I've been doing in the last 1.5 months. It's something that I used to do when I was running Magic the Gathering. That definitely, because the card prices are so volatile, given that, the cards are popular ones come and go pretty quickly. So it's good to iron out certain anchors that will hold, kind of like the blue chips, for stocks. Okay, so it is similar kind of concept. So that's basically what I've been doing so far. Okay, lastly, so I want to talk about what's up ahead for basketball, right? So we're already past the All-Star break. We're going to road to the playoffs, and a lot of people are talking, so what's good to buy at the moment? And as you guys know, right, I'm a 90s guy, so I don't really get into much of the modern players, but what I can do advise you is do not go for the obvious picks. Okay, so the people may say, "Oh, let's get the Shays, the Tatums, the Giannis," right? So when they get to the finals and then they cash in, but people who are invested in these players, they've invested from the start. So the prices are already carrying a premium, and you're kind of like just helping the volume or helping the price at this juncture. But when the time comes and try and cash in these stuff, when doing the playoffs, I kind of find it pretty difficult to cash in, and we've seen this trend time and time again, many years. So my personal advice is don't buy the obvious picks. In fact, plan for the future, plan what's coming next year instead, right? Next year feels like a long way off, but you don't forget, you're sitting in February 2024, new season just starts in 8 months time, right? It's just 8 months, right? So who am I talking about? Look forward to the players, Kate Cunningham, who else do I got here? Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Victor Wembanyama, right? Even though his cards are pretty high, but don't forget about Ja Morant, right? So these are some of the players that they're kind of forgotten right now, but definitely you'll be the ones that, that's a good time to look out while everybody's eyes are focusing on the ones that's going to the playoffs. So that's my advice. Alright, so that's the update for 50 days in. Lots of things happening. Definitely doing lots and lots of work, keeping myself pretty busy. This reseller thing, it's not an easy task, but I do enjoy doing it, and I'm going to bring you guys more content when I can. Trying to get my business back up to speed given this Chinese New Year holidays, and I'll come back to you guys soon. So do like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I'll see you guys soon on my channel. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys. Cowboys out.